Staying at home isn't fear, it's selective focus. It's knowing the difference between movement and progress. A lot of people confuse being outside with being productive, confuse noise with motion, confuse visibility with value. But the ones who really locked and understand something deeper, every step you take gotta mean something. Every move gotta connect to a bigger picture. When you choose to stay home, you're not hiding from the world. You're studying it. You're watching patterns. You're learning how distractions dress themselves up as opportunities. You're realizing most places don't move you forward, they just move you around. And moving around without direction is how people get tired without getting anywhere. Selective focus is discipline in disguise. It's saying no to what looks fun so you can say yes to what actually builds you. It's understanding that your mind is your most expensive asset, and you can't let everybody rent space in it for free. Stay home becomes a filter. It blocks out opinions, expectations, and unnecessary comparisons that slow your growth. See, the world loud on purpose. Everybody's selling an image, a lifestyle, a shortcut. And if you're always outside, you're always consuming. But when you stay home, you create, you think, you plan. You hear your own voice again. That silence ain't empty, it's loaded. It forces you to confront your habits, your discipline, your excuses. That's why most people can't sit with themselves too long. They're scared of what they might find. But the focused ones, they welcome it because self-awareness is power. They know clarity don't come from crowds. It comes from stillness. When you stay home, you sharpen your vision. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing and start building. Selective focus also means respecting energy. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every invite deserves your presence. Some rooms drain you before you even realize it. People who love staying home understand energy economics. They invest where the return is real and pull back where the cost is high. That ain't antisocial. That's strategic. Home becomes a base, a place where routines are built and standards are set, where skills get sharpened in private before they get displayed in public, while others scrolling and talking, you studying and executing. While others explaining who they want to be, you becoming it. Quietly, consistently, this mindset don't mean you never step out. It means when you do, it's intentional. You're not moving off impulse, you're moving off alignment. You're not chasing moments, you're stacking momentum. And momentum built in silence hit different. It lasts longer, it travels further. People are going to misunderstand you. They always do when they can't see the work. They'll call you distant, boring, unsociable. But they don't see the hours you put in when nobody watching. They don't see the structure you building, the mindset you developing, the patience you practicing. They only see absence, not preparation. And that's fine. Because selective focus teaches you something else. You don't need approval to progress. Validation is loud, but results are undeniable. You don't got to announce your grind. Let time do that for you. But here's the balance. Staying home only works if you're working on something. Focus without action turns into comfort. Solitude without purpose turns into stagnation. Selective focus means choosing growth over escape. It means using your alone time to level up, not lay down. So if you're staying home, make it count. Read, train, build, reflect. Get uncomfortable in your own silence, because comfort is easy, but focus is earned. And the people who master selective focus don't just move differently. They end up somewhere different. At the end of the day, the world don't reward who is everywhere. It rewards who was consistent, who stayed locked in when distractions were loud, who understood that sometimes the strongest move is staying still and sharpening the blade. Staying at home isn't fear, it's choosing your direction before you choose your destination. Solitude sharpens vision when the world is noisy, because noise don't just distract your ears, it clouds your direction. Everybody talking, everybody posting, everybody reacting, everybody rushing to be seen. And in all that chaos, most people lose the ability to see where they're actually going. They move fast, but they move blind. Solitude is where the fog clears. When you step back from the noise, you start hearing what really matters. Your own thoughts get louder. Your instincts get sharper. You realize how much of your life was being shaped by other people's expectations instead of your own intentions. Silence exposes truth. And truth is uncomfortable for anyone not ready to grow. Most people avoid being alone because being alone forces accountability. There's no crowd to hide behind, no distractions to blame. Just you and the results you've been getting. And that moment right there, that's where vision is born, not from motivation speeches, not from trends, but from honest self-evaluation. Solitude teaches you how to think long-term. When the noise fades, urgency fades with it. You stop chasing what's hot and start focusing on what's solid. You stop reacting to every opinion and start responding to your own standards. That's when your moves start making sense. That's when your decisions stop being emotional and start being strategic. The world is designed to pull your attention apart. Notifications, conversations, drama, comparison. Every piece of noise is fighting for your focus because focus is power. And when you give it away too freely, you weaken your position. Solitude is how you reclaim that power. It's not about cutting people off forever. It's about cutting distractions off long enough to hear yourself think. In solitude, you notice patterns you missed before. You see where your energy leaks are, You recognize habits that look small but cost you big over time. You start understanding yourself at a deeper level, what motivates you, what drains you, what you tolerate that you shouldn't. That self-knowledge becomes a compass. And once you have a compass, you don't need the crowd to tell you where to go. Vision gets sharper when it's not constantly interrupted. Imagine trying to aim in the middle of a storm. That's what life feels like when you never step back. Solitude is the calm where you line up your shot. It's where you plan your next move instead of rushing into the wrong one. It's where patience gets built and impulsiveness gets checked. People misunderstand solitude because they think growth has to look loud. They think success needs an audience. But the real work happens when nobody's watching. That's where discipline is tested. That's where consistency is formed. Anybody can look busy outside, few can stay committed inside. Solitude also builds emotional strength. When you're comfortable being alone, you're not desperate for approval. You don't need constant validation to feel valuable. You move with confidence because your confidence is internal, not borrowed from reactions or likes. That independence makes your vision clearer because you're not adjusting your path to please spectators. But solitude isn't passive. It's active reflection. It's intentional isolation with a purpose. You don't sit still to escape life. You sit still to understand it. You study, you plan, you sharpen skills. You map out the long road instead of chasing shortcuts. That's how vision turns into execution. The noisy world rewards speed, but speed without direction leads to burnout. Solitude slows you down just enough to get it right. It reminds you that not every opportunity is for you. Not every trend needs your attention. Not every opinion deserves a response. That selectiveness is clarity, and clarity is everything. When you come back from solitude, you move different. Your words carry weight. Your actions are precise. You don't waste steps. You don't explain yourself. You let alignment speak for you. People might not understand how you got so focused, but that's because they never sat still long enough to see what you saw. So don't fear the quiet. Use it. Protect it. Because in a world addicted to noise, the one who can master solitude will always see further than the rest. Home is a lab where discipline either grows or dies. It's the one place where there's no audience, no pressure to perform, no one clapping when you do the right thing. And that's exactly why it matters. What you do at home tells the truth about who you really are. Not who you say you are, not who you post as, but who you become when nobody's watching. Out in the world, it's easy to look focused. You can dress productive, talk motivated, move busy. But home strips all that away. At home, excuses get loud. Comfort sits right next to ambition, and every day you choose which one you feed. That's why discipline either grows there or dies there, no in between. Home is where habits are born. The small decisions you make in private stack up quietly. Sleeping in when you shouldn't, skipping the workout, delaying the work you know needs to be done. None of it looks serious in the moment, but discipline don't disappear overnight. It fades slowly through choices you keep justifying. On the other side, growth looks boring. Waking up early when nobody cares. Training your body when there's no mirror. Studying when there's no test. Planning when there's no deadline. That's discipline being built brick by brick. And home is the construction site. Discipline isn't about motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is about systems. What time you wake up. What you do first thing in the morning. How you treat your body. How you use your time when nobody demands it from you. At home, there's no external structure. You are the structure. And most people collapse under that responsibility. Comfort is the biggest threat in that lab. The couch, the phone, the bed, the snacks. All of it designed to keep you still. Comfort doesn't feel dangerous, but it's patient. It waits. It slowly lowers your standards without making a sound. And one day you look up and wonder why your life ain't moving. It's because comfort been running the lab experiments instead of you. The disciplined ones understand this. They don't rely on feelings. They rely on routines. They create rules for themselves because freedom without discipline turns into chaos. They know that if they can control their environment at home, they can control their performance outside. Master the private, and the public takes care of itself. Home is also where mental discipline gets tested. Negative thoughts hit harder in silence. Doubt shows up when distractions fade. That's when most people reach for noise to escape. But discipline means staying present, facing your thoughts, rewriting the narrative, training your mind the same way you train your body. Through repetition and resistance, this lab don't lie. It shows you whether you're serious or just inspired. Inspired people talk. Disciplined people prepare. Inspired people wait for the mood. Disciplined people move regardless. And the gap between those two mindsets gets decided at home in ordinary moments on regular days. What makes this powerful is that nobody can fake it long term. You can't outsource discipline. You can't borrow it. You earn it through consistency, through doing the boring work when there's no reward attached, through honoring commitments you made to yourself. Home is where those promises get tested. And when discipline grows in that space, it shows everywhere else. You move with confidence. You speak with clarity. You handle pressure better because you already faced the hardest part yourself. You train when it was quiet. So when it gets loud, you're ready. But if discipline dies at home, everything else suffers. You start relying on external pressure to move, deadlines, fear, other people's expectations. That's a weak position. Strong people build internal pressure. They don't wait to be pushed. They push themselves. So treat your home like a training ground, not a comfort zone. Design it to support your future, not sabotage it. Because the world only sees the results, but the foundation, that's built in private. Home is a lab, and every day you're running experiments on your own life. People who stay home value energy economics over validation. They understand something most people never stop to calculate. Energy is currency. You don't get unlimited amounts of it. You wake up with a balance, and every conversation, every reaction, every unnecessary appearance makes a withdrawal. Spend it wrong and you're broke before the day even starts. Validation is expensive. It costs time. It costs focus. It costs authenticity. When you live for reactions, you adjust your moves based on applause. You start performing instead of progressing. People who stay home stepped off that treadmill. Not because they're scared to be seen, but because they refuse to be controlled by approval. They don't move for likes, they move for alignment. Energy economics is about return on investment. If something drains more than it gives, it's a bad deal. Loud rooms, shallow conversations, pointless arguments, all of it overpriced. Staying home becomes a strategic decision, not a social weakness. It's choosing to protect the asset instead of flexing it. Validation makes you reactive. Energy economics makes you intentional. When you chase validation, you explain yourself too much. You show up when you don't need to. You say yes when you should say no. All that leaking adds up. The disciplined ones cut that off early. They understand not every invite is an opportunity. Not every conversation deserves access. Not every opinion needs a response. Staying home gives them control over their inputs, what they watch, what they listen to, who they talk to. That control keeps their mind sharp and their direction clear. You can't build anything meaningful when your attention is constantly being pulled apart. Focus requires insulation. People misunderstand this mindset because they measure life in social proof. If you're not visible, they assume you're losing. But energy-efficient people don't play that game. They measure progress internally, skill gained, discipline built, vision refined. Those metrics don't need an audience. Validation is loud but shallow. Energy management is quiet but powerful. When you stop chasing approval, your confidence changes. It's no longer borrowed from reactions. It's built from self-trust. You know what you're working toward, so you don't need reassurance every step of the way. That independence makes your moves sharper and your decisions faster. People who stay home also understand recovery. Constant interaction creates mental fatigue. Too many faces, too many opinions, too much comparison. Staying home allows the nervous system to reset. That reset is what keeps them consistent long-term. Burnout usually comes from overspending energy on things that don't matter. Energy economics means you show up only where you can be effective. When they step out, it's with purpose. They're present. They're grounded. They're not scattered because they didn't drain themselves trying to be everywhere. This mindset also builds leverage. When you're not desperate for validation, you negotiate better. You walk away easier. You don't tolerate disrespect just to belong. That strength comes from knowing your worth doesn't increase with attention. It increases with integrity. Staying home isn't isolation, it's conservation. They conserve energy so they can deploy it when it counts. Big moments, high-pressure decisions, creative work that demands clarity. You can't do that if you spend all day entertaining nonsense. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they mismanage energy. They give too much to people who don't add value and too little to the work that could change their life. Energy, efficient people flip that equation. They invest in routines, in learning, in training their mind and body. And because they're not constantly seeking validation, their growth compounds faster. They're not distracted by who's watching. They're focused on who they're becoming. So don't let the world shame you for choosing peace over presence, for depth over display, for progress over popularity. Energy economics is a long-term strategy. Validation is a short-term high. The ones who master their energy don't look busy. They look calm, and calm is dangerous when paired with purpose. Isolation is powerful only when it's intentional and purpose-driven. Without intention, isolation turns into avoidance. Without purpose, it becomes comfort disguised as reflection. The difference between falling back and locking in is the reason behind the distance. Some people isolate because they're tired of losing. Others isolate because they're preparing to win. From the outside, it looks the same. From the inside, it's completely different. One is hiding from pressure, the other is training for it. Intentional isolation is a decision, not a reaction. It's stepping back before life forces you back. It's saying, I need space to build, not I need space to disappear. That mindset changes everything. You're not cutting people off out of bitterness. You're cutting distractions off out of respect for your future. Purpose gives isolation structure. It turns alone time into work time, into thinking time, into planning time. You wake up with a reason, not just an empty schedule. You're not scrolling to kill hours, you're investing them. That's when isolation stops feeling lonely and starts feeling powerful. Unintentional isolation drains you. Intentional isolation charges you. When you isolate with purpose, you audit your life. You look at habits, relationships, routines, and beliefs. You ask hard questions. Where am I wasting time? Where am I lying to myself? What patterns keep repeating? Those answers don't come in crowds. They come in quiet. Most people are scared of that quiet because it exposes responsibility. There's nobody to blame when it's just you. No excuses survive in silence. And that's why growth lives there. Pressure creates diamonds, but isolation creates clarity. And clarity is what allows pressure to be handled without breaking. Purpose-driven isolation also sharpens discipline. When nobody's watching, your standards either rise or fall. You either become consistent or comfortable. There's no external motivation, no deadlines, no validation, just self-respect. And self-respect is the strongest motivator there is. This kind of isolation isn't permanent. It's seasonal. It's like training camp before game day. You don't live there forever, but you don't skip it either. You go in to get sharper, stronger, more prepared, then you come back to the world with a different presence. People who isolate with intention don't explain themselves. They don't need to. Their absence has a reason, and their return has impact. While others were talking, they were studying. While others were distracted, they were building systems. While others were chasing attention, they were building leverage. Purpose keeps isolation from turning into stagnation. It gives you metrics. Skills learned, weight lifted, pages read, plans written, money saved. When progress is measurable, isolation stays productive. When it's not, it turns into procrastination. Intentional isolation also protects your identity. Too much exposure to outside noise can blur who you are. Opinions start shaping your decisions. Trends start dictating your direction. Stepping back allows you to recalibrate, to remember what matters to you, not what's popular. Isolation without purpose makes you smaller. Isolation with purpose makes you dangerous. Because when you finally step back into the world, you're not seeking approval. You're bringing value. You're not reacting, you're executing, you're not explaining the vision, you're demonstrating it. People will call you distant. They always do when they don't understand discipline. But distance isn't the goal, alignment is. And sometimes alignment requires space. Space to think clearly, space to heal properly, space to rebuild correctly. The key is honesty. Ask yourself why you're isolating. If it's to avoid discomfort, that's a red flag. If it's to prepare for growth, that's a green light. Purpose answers that question every morning. Isolation is not the destination, it's the workshop. You go there to refine yourself, not to disappear. You come back with sharper vision, stronger habits, and a clearer sense of direction. That's when isolation pays off. Because in the end, the world doesn't care how long you were alone. It cares what you built while you were there.